Welcome back, guys. This will be our last big trip in Japan and we're starting back in Tokyo. We stayed a few more weeks here, spending time with our friends, going to events and just enjoying living in Japan for a short while. And here are the highlights. On one night we met up again with Takashi and the gang, and this time Tetsuro was out with his RWB, one of the most beautiful Porsches I've ever seen in person. Of course Takashi and Clement were there, but this time we had Josh there as well, an American guy living in Japan with his amazing bike body Stagia. As usual, at some point into the night we also popped over to Daikoku to see what's going on there.
Thankfully Hunter was there to film everything.
Over the next couple of days we just hung out. We're hunting for great food and playing at arcades, having a good time. And naturally coming across cool cars everywhere we went. Another day we met up with Clement and his mate with an incredible JZX-110, and we were headed to the 1JZ meeting that was held for the first time in Japan close to the wharf. At some point Dino even showed up with his yellow 964 and we drove over to Umi Hotaru to meet up with Takashi and the boys again. We ended the night with heading back to Tokyo and getting the supposedly best kebab in town and just chilling out, enjoying the vibes. Obviously, we were doing some sightseeing in between as well. Like on this day where we checked out the Asakusa area with Tokyo's oldest temple, Sensoji. In the evening we headed back to pick up the car because we were finally able to meet up with my mate Bryce, who has a crazy beautiful R34 that I was able to catch for the first time at the Fenderist event, of which I made a video as well. We hung out again with Clement Takashi and Daisuke popped over for a bit. And when the guys left again, Takashi, Clement and I checked out some of the popular photo spots around Tokyo. But since it was raining, Takashi got out his G-Wagon instead.
And I landed a killer shot in front of the Rainbow Bridge. Just before heading to a popular hotel entrance known as a wicked photo location for cars in Tokyo. We ended the night on a Lawson convenience store dinner before we dispersed and said our goodbyes, because our time in Tokyo had come to an end for the time being. Nonetheless, it's always nice hearing Takashi making his exit. Next up is one of my favorite treks in the world, Tsukuba. I have been here for a JCCA event already almost a decade ago, and I still remember it as one of the coolest events I've ever been to. So I made sure we can get this one timed right. And there's literally nothing that beats race starts at JCCA events in terms of sound. We spent one last night in Tokyo before heading towards Kawaguchiko, right at the foot of Mount Fuji once more, for a little relaxation before we go on our journey back down south. On our trip down to Fukuoka, the first stop was in Otsu, right at Lake Biwa, where we had a huge hotel room overlooking the entire lake. It was amazing. Right around the corner from Otsu was Kobe, which we skipped on our way up. And we sure didn't want to have missed seeing that. Or I should rather say tasted what it had to offer. We went for probably the most expensive piece of meat in our lives, and we were absolutely blown away how good it was. Not too far from Kobe was Himeji, and Himeji is known for the largest and most famous castle in all of Japan. And now that we've experienced quite a few of them all around Japan, we can unequivocally say we're not surprised that this is the most visited castle in Japan. It is incredible. Because our goal at the end of this trip was having visited every single prefecture in Japan, we had to make a detour back to Shikoku. We had passed by Kagawa on our way up, and to rectify that, we spent our day in Takamatsu in the Ritsurin garden, which came highly recommended to us. And to top this incredible day off, we drove over to Sanuki, which is a place right outside Takamatsu, known for its special type of udon and probably the tastiest of them all. The next morning we had a special appointment lined up. Takashi linked me up with Kazuki, who owns a shop called Madlane here in Okayama Prefecture, and he has built some of the most recognizable cars that you've probably seen on the internet before. We hung out for a while, soaking in the atmosphere, and then we moved on to our next destination, up at the north coast, Tottori. Tottori is very famous for its sand dunes, which was the very first thing we went to check out upon arriving. It was the perfect day for a walk through the dunes and watching the picturesque setting. following day we stocked up in the local market and drove down the coast. We passed right through Mitsuse because our main goal in Shiman Prefecture was checking out the Izumo Taisha. This Shinto shrine is the most famous and important one in all of Japan, so we couldn't pass up this opportunity. After a quick stop in Hiroshima, one of my favorite cities in all of Japan, we moved on to Yamaguchi Prefecture, which we've previously traveled through, but while I was in Tokyo, I met a super cool guy with a PS13 at Daikoku, and he told me he was from Yamaguchi, and if I ever pass through again, I should stop at Hadashi Tengoku Circuit. And where do I even begin? This track was run by an elderly couple who also lived right by the track, it appeared, and was just 2 or 3 people here spending their day having fun for a very small fee. If only we had something like this back home. Amazed by how in the middle of nowhere an oasis like this exists, we made our way off Japan's main island Honshu again and headed into Kitakyushu for the night. Back in Kyushu, we decided to visit the last two prefectures of Japan we hadn't visited on our first Kyushu tour. That meant we'd take the long way around, which was perfect, because it also means I'd get to visit one of my favorite shops in all of Japan, Active Garage. Funny story here was that it turned out I had known the guy I met in the lobby, Hikaru, for a very long time from my R32 GTR days. He also owns an R32 GTR and used to live in Tokyo until he started his job at Active. After touring the shop, he asked me if I want to drive over to the storage place a few kilometers away and check out the cars they had put away there. If the answer wasn't obvious, no way in hell I was gonna say no to that. Really stoked on having been there, it was time to see Miyazaki, the home of the chicken and bun dish. Besides eating chicken, the other great attraction in Miyazaki is the Devil's Washboard, located on Aoshima Island nearby. Our final prefecture in Japan was waiting for us. Somewhat poetic as well, being the city furthest to the south of Japan, considering we came here all the way from Sapporo. It's the city of Kagoshima. We decided to spend the extra few days here and got a super cool hotel room with a view onto Sakurajima, an active volcano right next to the city. We took it easy, explored the city and had great food. We also visited Sengan-en, a large Japanese garden in the city that used to be the residence of a feudal lord. But obviously, everything has to come to an end at some point. With heavy hearts, we started to make our way back towards Sumo Garage. We took one last toga pass before heading back into Itoshima and stopped at the Mitsuse Cafe Carbay, where the owner puts up images of all cool cars that visit and sorts them by origin on the walls inside. And this makes the end of our 6-month journey in Japan. Words cannot describe the experience, and while we're happy to be seeing our family again, we wouldn't mind staying even longer. We've driven just shy of 15,000 kilometers in this R34, visited every single prefecture, and have been in every major city throughout the entire country. No one can take this from us. We're really thankful to Sumo Garage for having sorted out the car for us, and now it is on the way back to Germany, where I can finish what we started. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.